The brutal ambush had 23 soldiers trapped in a deadly crossfire, enemy bullets raining down like hail. They screamed desperately into the radio, "We're losing everyone!" Suddenly, from a distant ridge, a series of precise shots rang out. One by one, enemy positions fell silent, opening an escape route. 23 men lived because of a silent marksman. But when their comrades finally found her, the truth about who she really was brought the entire unit to tears. In Forward Operating Base Karabag, Reina Vasquez moved through her days like smoke through a forest fire, present but unnoticed, essential but invisible. At 30, with shoulder-length brown hair always pulled back in a regulation bun, and a slight frame that seemed dwarfed by her military uniform, she occupied the unglamorous world of logistics and supply management. Vasquez handles ammunition distribution, Sergeant First Class Martinez would explain to new arrivals, his tone suggesting she was about as exciting as paperwork. She counts bullets, tracks inventory, makes sure everyone has what they need. Important work, but not exactly frontline material. The younger soldiers treated her with the casual indifference reserved for support personnel who kept the machine running but never fired a shot in anger. To them, she was just another clerk in uniform, someone who understood spreadsheets better than combat. "Look at her," whispered Private Johnson to his buddy Thompson as Reina walked past carrying supply manifests. "Bet she's never even held a rifle properly. Probably joined the army to do filing." Thompson snickered. "That little thing? A rifle would knock her flat on her ass. Good thing she sticks to counting ammo instead of using it." Reina heard every word. She always did, but never responded. She simply continued her rounds, checking inventory, distributing supplies, ensuring that every soldier had the equipment they needed to stay alive. What they didn't see were the small acts of care that defined her character. When Private Rodriguez pulled guard duty on Christmas Eve, Reina quietly left a thermos of hot coffee and homemade cookies at his post. When Specialist Chen's body armor took shrapnel damage during a patrol, she spent hours after her shift meticulously repairing the Kevlar weave with surgical precision. "You don't have to do that," Chen had said, watching her work. "Supply can just order me a new vest." "This one's already molded to your body," Reina replied without looking up. "It'll protect you better than something new." Her workstation was organized with military efficiency, but tucked in the corner of her footlocker was something that seemed out of place among supply manifests and inventory sheets, an M24 sniper weapon system, its wooden stock worn smooth by years of handling. Most soldiers assumed it was just another piece of equipment she was responsible for maintaining. They never noticed the small silver inscription engraved near the trigger guard. "Deadeye Hawk, 427 confirmed." Master Sergeant Williams, a grizzled veteran of 3 deployments, occasionally caught glimpses of something deeper in Reina's quiet competence. He watched her instinctively position herself with clear sightlines to potential threats when she worked outside the wire. He noticed how she automatically calculated distances and wind patterns when aircraft flew overhead. "There's something about Vasquez," he mentioned to his platoon sergeant one evening. "The way she moves, the way she watches, reminds me of someone, but I can't place it." The platoon sergeant shrugged. "She's logistics, Sarge. Good at her job, stays out of trouble. That's all we need from support personnel." But Williams had served long enough to recognize the signs. The way Reina's eyes constantly swept their surroundings. The way she seemed to catalog every elevated position and potential firing angle. The way she handled equipment with the unconscious precision of someone who had trained far beyond basic military requirements. One afternoon, while helping a young soldier sight his rifle at the practice range, Williams watched Reina pause in her supply rounds to observe. When Private Mitchell struggled with his 0, Reina quietly approached and made a minor adjustment to his scope elevation. Mitchell's next 5 shots grouped within a 2-inch circle at 300 meters. "How did you know to do that?" Mitchell asked, impressed. Reina simply smiled and continued her rounds, but Williams had seen enough. That wasn't beginner's luck or lucky guessing. That was the practiced eye of someone who understood ballistics at a level that took years to develop. Private Mitchell. She just looked at my scope for 2 seconds and made one tiny adjustment. Then I shot the best group of my life. I asked how she knew, but she just smiled and walked away like it was nothing. The mission briefing had an ominous simplicity. Patrol route amber, check civilian traffic, return to base. What intelligence hadn't mentioned was the company-strength Taliban unit, waiting in the mountain passes above the valley road. At 0800 hours, Lieutenant Morrison led 23 soldiers out of the wire in 4 heavily armed vehicles. Reyna had submitted a request to accompany the patrol as a combat observer, a standard procedure for logistics personnel to better understand field requirements. Negative, Vasquez, Morrison had replied curtly. This is a combat patrol, not a supply run. Stay on base where you belong. Sergeant Martinez nodded agreement. Sir, she'd just be dead weight if things go sideways. Better to keep the rear echelon safe in the rear. The younger soldiers snickered at the exchange, amused by the idea of their quiet supply clerk wanting to play soldier. To them, it was like the school librarian asking to join the football team. Can you imagine Vasquez trying to keep up on patrol? Private Johnson whispered to Thompson. She'd probably fall over if she had to carry a full combat load. But Reyna had anticipated the rejection. While the patrol prepared to depart, she was already loading her gear into a separate vehicle, preparing for what she quietly called independent reconnaissance. Her equipment was minimal but specific. The M24 rifle, a spotting scope, ammunition, and a radio tuned to the patrol's frequency. What happened next would be discussed in military academies for years to come. At 10:47 hours, the patrol entered what would later be designated Kill Zone Alpha. The Taliban had chosen their ambush site perfectly, a narrow valley with steep sides, limited cover, and no easy escape routes. The first rocket-propelled grenade disabled the lead vehicle. The second destroyed the rear truck, trapping the patrol in the kill zone. Base, this is Reaper 1-6. Lieutenant Morrison's voice crackled over the radio, barely audible over the sound of automatic weapons fire. We're taking effective fire from multiple positions. 23 personnel trapped in the valley. Request immediate support. The base erupted in controlled chaos as commanders scrambled to organize a relief force. Apache helicopters were 20 minutes out. Artillery support was being calculated. But 20 minutes might as well have been 20 hours for the soldiers pinned down in the valley. From her position on a ridge 200 meters away, Reyna had watched the ambush unfold through her spotting scope. She had arrived 30 minutes before the patrol, using terrain knowledge and tactical instincts that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than her logistics training. Wind from the east at 8 knots, she murmured to herself, making mental calculations that had become as natural as breathing. Temperature 72 degrees, barometric pressure falling, range to target 1,200 meters. Through her scope, she could see 3 machine gun nests commanding overlapping fields of fire, 2 sniper positions on the opposite ridge, and approximately 30 Taliban fighters in covered positions. The patrol was trapped in a textbook ambush with no way out. Most logistics personnel would have called for backup and waited for professional snipers to arrive. Reyna wasn't most logistics personnel. She settled into a firing position with the fluid motions of someone who had done this hundreds of times before. Her breathing slowed, her heart rate dropped, and the chaos of the battlefield faded into background noise as she entered what snipers call the zone. The first shot came at 10:52 hours. The Taliban machine gunner on the eastern ridge was traversing his weapon toward a group of pinned American soldiers when his world ended in a 168-grain hollow-point bullet traveling at 250 feet per second. The heavy machine gun fell silent. "What the hell was that?" Morrison's voice came over the radio, confusion mixing with desperate hope. The second shot followed 12 seconds later, eliminating a sniper who had been picking off American soldiers from a concealed position 800 meters to the north. Then the third, fourth, and fifth shots in rapid succession, each one precisely placed, each one removing a key enemy position. Private Thompson, huddled behind a disabled vehicle, watched in amazement as enemy positions that had been pouring deadly fire suddenly went quiet. Someone's taking out their gunners, but who the hell is that good? Master Sergeant Williams, trapped with the patrol, keyed his radio. Unknown sniper, this is Reaper 16 actual. Identify yourself and maintain fires on enemy positions. The response came in a calm, steady voice that Williams almost recognized. Reaper 16, this is Deadeye Hawk. Continue movement to your northeast. I'll keep their heads down. Williams felt ice water run through his veins. Deadeye Hawk. That call sign belonged to a legend, a ghost story whispered in special operations circles. The sniper with the most confirmed kills in the Afghanistan theater. The operator who had disappeared 3 years earlier after a mission went catastrophically wrong. Deadeye Hawk was supposed to be dead, but dead legends don't save 23 lives with precision rifle fire from impossible ranges. For 15 minutes, the mysterious sniper provided cover while the patrol fought their way to a defensive position. Every shot was precise, economical, devastating. When the Taliban tried to flank left, a sniper fell. When they attempted to advance on the right, a machine gunner died. When their commander tried to coordinate the attack, he simply ceased to exist. By the time Apache helicopters arrived, the ambush had been broken, and 23 American soldiers were preparing for extraction. The mystery sniper was gone. Master Sergeant Williams. I heard that voice on the radio, that call sign, and I knew we were witnessing something impossible. Deadeye Hawk was supposed to be KIA 3 years ago, but dead people don't save entire platoons. The search for the mysterious sniper began immediately after the patrol's safe return to base. Lieutenant Morrison, still shaking from the ambush, led a team back to the ridge where the shots had originated. What they found defied everything they thought they knew about their quiet supply clerk. A perfect sniper's nest, professionally constructed with natural camouflage and clear sight lines to the kill zone. 23 spent brass casings arranged in a neat line, one for each life saved. And sitting calmly at the center of it all, methodically cleaning her M24 rifle, was Reina Vasquez. Jesus Christ, Private Johnson whispered, his earlier mockery forgotten. It was Vasquez. She was the sniper. Morrison approached cautiously, his mind struggling to reconcile the woman he had dismissed as dead weight with the precision marksman who had just saved his entire unit. Corporal Vasquez, he said formally, though his voice carried new weight. Was that you providing sniper support? Reina looked up from her weapon maintenance, her expression unchanged. Yes, sir. 23 confirmed positions neutralized. Your unit is safe. The casual way she delivered the statement, as if reporting routine inventory numbers, sent chills through the assembled soldiers. This wasn't bravado or excitement. This was the calm professionalism of someone for whom precision killing was simply another job skill. Master Sergeant Williams stepped forward, his weathered face showing recognition and something approaching awe. Deadeye Hawk, he said quietly. You're Rebecca Deadeye Hawk Vasquez, the Kraken unit sniper. The admission hung in the mountain air like smoke from a rifle barrel. Reina nodded once, neither confirming nor denying, but her silence spoke volumes. Williams turned to the stunned soldiers surrounding them. Gentlemen, meet Staff Sergeant Rebecca Vasquez, formerly of the 75th Ranger Regiment's Special Operations Detachment, the most successful sniper in the Afghanistan theater. 427 confirmed kills over 3 deployments. The numbers landed like artillery shells. Private Thompson, who had joked about rifles being too heavy for her, stood frozen in disbelief. Private Johnson, who had mocked her inability to hold a rifle properly, couldn't meet her eyes. But sir, Morrison said, confusion evident in his voice, her records show logistics MOS, supply and inventory management. There's no mention of special operations. Williams smiled grimly. That's because Deadeye Hawk officially died 3 years ago during Operation Silent Thunder. Her entire team was KIA when their helicopter went down. She was listed as killed in action along with the rest of Kraken unit. Reyna finally spoke, her voice carrying the weight of survivors' guilt that never truly heals. My team didn't make it home. I did. So I became someone else, somewhere I could serve without the memories following me. The story emerged in fragments, told by Williams, who had served in the same theater and knew the legend, filled in by intelligence reports that had been classified until this moment. 3 years earlier, Staff Sergeant Rebecca "Deadeye Hawk" Vasquez had been the primary sniper for Kraken Unit, an elite special operations team conducting high-value target elimination missions in eastern Afghanistan. Her precision was legendary. She once eliminated 7 enemy combatants from a range of 147 meters in less than 90 seconds, saving a surrounded Delta Force team. But legends aren't bulletproof. During Operation Silent Thunder, Kraken Unit had been inserted to eliminate a high-value Taliban commander. The mission succeeded, but the extraction helicopter was hit by an RPG during pickup. Rebecca watched her entire team, her friends, her brothers and sisters in arms, die in the crash. She survived with minor injuries, but something inside her died with her teammates. Officially, she had been killed in the crash. Unofficially, she had requested reassignment to the most anonymous position possible, supply and logistics. She wanted to serve, but she couldn't handle the weight of being a weapon anymore. I tried to put the rifle down, she said softly, running her hand along the M24's familiar stock. But when I heard your voices on the radio, when I realized 23 people were going to die, I couldn't let it happen again. Lieutenant Morrison, humbled by the magnitude of his previous dismissal, struggled to find appropriate words. Ma'am, I owe you an apology. We all do. Without your intervention. You don't owe me anything, Reyna interrupted. This is what we do. We take care of each other. But Private Johnson, the young soldier who had made jokes about her competence, stepped forward with tears in his eyes. Ma'am, I said some things. I didn't know. Reyna looked at him with the same gentle expression she had always worn. You saw a supply clerk, not a sniper. That was the point. I wanted to be invisible. The transformation in how the unit viewed Reyna was instantaneous and complete. The soldiers who had dismissed her as irrelevant suddenly understood they had been living and working alongside one of the most lethal operators in military history. More importantly, they realized she had been taking care of them in countless small ways while carrying the weight of extraordinary loss. Master Sergeant Williams ordered the brass casings collected and labeled. These are going to the unit historian, he announced. 23 shots, 23 lives saved. This is the kind of marksmanship they'll study at Benning for the next 50 years. But Reyna was already breaking down her position, preparing to return to base as if nothing extraordinary had happened. Ma'am, Morrison asked, why didn't you tell us? Why hide what you were capable of? Reyna shouldered her rifle and looked out over the valley where 23 American soldiers had almost died. Because I didn't want to be Deadeye Hawk anymore. I just wanted to be someone who helped people in small ways without anyone getting hurt. She paused, then added quietly, but I guess sometimes small ways aren't enough. As they walked back toward base, Williams fell into step beside her. You know this changes everything, right? Command is going to want to reactivate your sniper qualification, put you back in the fight. Reyna's response was barely audible over the mountain wind. I know, but today 23 families won't get death notifications. That's all that matters. Call to action. If you believe that one person's courage can save countless lives, type I owe a debt in the comments below. The news of Reyna's true identity spread through forward operating base Karabakh like wildfire, but not in the way most military legends do. There were no press releases, no medal ceremonies, no interviews with embedded journalists. Instead, a quiet respect settled over the base like morning fog, transforming how every soldier viewed not just Reyna, but the concept of service itself. Master Sergeant Williams found her the next morning in her usual spot in the supply tent, methodically checking ammunition inventories as if she hadn't just rewritten the tactical manual on solo sniper operations. Vasquez, he said, using her preferred name rather than her legendary call sign. I need to talk to you about reassignment. Command wants to reactivate your sniper, MOS, put you with a special operations unit where your skills can be properly utilized. Raina looked up from her clipboard, the same gentle expression she had always worn. With respect, Sergeant, I'd prefer to stay where I am. Williams frowned. Stay in logistics? You're the most accurate marksman in the entire theater. You could be leading sniper teams, training the next generation, making a real difference. I am making a difference, she replied simply. Yesterday, I made sure Private Chen had properly fitting body armor. Last week, I ensured Specialist Rodriguez had the right ammunition for his weapon system. Tomorrow, I'll probably prevent someone from getting killed by a malfunctioning piece of equipment I caught during inspection. She gestured toward her workstation, where dozens of maintenance requests and supply forms waited for her attention. Every soldier who walks out that gate depends on what I do here. That's not small. That's everything. The profound shift in how her fellow soldiers treated her was immediate and lasting. Private Johnson, who had mocked her supposed incompetence, now approached her with genuine respect, asking for advice on improving his marksmanship. Private Thompson, who had joked about rifles being too heavy for her, volunteered to help with her heavier inventory tasks. But the most meaningful changes were the smallest ones. When Raina made her evening rounds, distributing mail and supplies, soldiers stood when she entered rooms, not because she demanded respect, but because they finally understood they were in the presence of someone extraordinary who chose to serve them in ordinary ways. Lieutenant Morrison, humbled by his previous dismissiveness, began including her in tactical planning sessions. I want your input on patrol routes, he explained. Your understanding of terrain and sight lines could help us avoid future ambushes. The young soldiers who had once seen her as just another clerk now watched her work with fascination. They noticed how she instinctively positioned herself with clear fields of view, how her eyes constantly cataloged potential threats, how her seemingly routine equipment inspections revealed potentially life-saving problems others had missed. A small memorial appeared in the supply tent, not for Raina, but for her fallen teammates from Kraken Unit. She had finally told their stories during a quiet evening when the base was mourning another loss. David Chen wanted to open a motorcycle shop in California, she had said, her voice soft with memory. Maria Santos was planning to become a veterinarian. Jackson Wright had just gotten engaged to his high school sweetheart. She touched the silver inscription on her rifle stock. They were the heroes. I'm just the one who survived to remember them. 3 weeks after the ambush, a package arrived for Raina through military mail. Inside were 23 thank you letters from the families of the soldiers she had saved, along with photos of wives, children, parents, and siblings who would have lost loved ones if not for her intervention. She read each letter privately, then carefully filed them away. But that night, for the first time since joining the logistics unit, she allowed herself to smile. 23 families would gather around dinner tables that evening because she had picked up her rifle one more time. Call to action, type, I will live with honor if you believe that heroes come in all forms, and sometimes the greatest strength is found in choosing to serve quietly. This story isn't just about a sniper who became a supply clerk. It's about the dangerous assumptions we make about people based on their current roles rather than their full capabilities. Every day, you encounter people whose past experiences, skills, and achievements remain invisible beneath their present circumstances. The security guard at your office building might be a former police detective. The cashier at your grocery store might speak 4 languages and hold an advanced degree. The janitor cleaning your workplace might be a published poet or a former executive who chose a simpler life. We live in a world that judges worth by current job titles, immediate visibility, and surface-level interactions. We assume that people in service roles are there because they lack better options, rather than understanding they might be there by choice, carrying experiences and capabilities that could astound us. Reina Vasquez represents countless veterans who transition from high-stakes military roles to civilian jobs that seem mundane by comparison. They stock shelves at midnight, drive buses through city streets, work as custodians in office buildings, not because they lack skills or ambition, but because they seek peace, normalcy, and the chance to serve others without the weight of life or death decisions. These individuals often possess extraordinary competencies: crisis management skills developed under fire, leadership experience gained through command responsibility, technical expertise acquired through specialized training, and mental resilience forged through experiences most people cannot imagine. But they wear civilian clothes now, perform routine tasks, and blend into the background of everyday life. They don't announce their past achievements because they're not seeking recognition. They're seeking purpose and peace. The tragedy is that we often dismiss these people as just janitors, just clerks, just support staff, missing opportunities to learn from individuals who have navigated challenges we've never faced and developed capabilities we could benefit from understanding. Reina's story teaches us that competence and courage don't always wear obvious uniforms. Sometimes the most capable people in any organization are the ones who quietly ensure everyone else can succeed. They maintain the systems, provide the support, and create the stability that allows others to excel. The next time you interact with someone in a service role, whether military or civilian, remember that you might be speaking with someone whose resume would humble you, whose experiences would inspire you, and whose current choice to serve in simple ways represents not a limitation, but a conscious decision to contribute meaningfully without seeking glory. Look beyond job titles and current roles, and ask questions with genuine interest. Treat every person with dignity and respect, understanding that extraordinary capabilities often hide behind ordinary appearances. In a world full of people trying to appear more impressive than they are, be grateful for those who are more impressive than they appear. They're the ones who save lives when it matters most. Then quietly return to making sure everyone has what they need to get through another day. If you believe in honoring those who serve others quietly and powerfully, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to NL Touching Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten. Real people are creating and telling stories, not mass-produced AI.